In a previous video, I showed you how to create a water reflection using a swan. This reflection was under perfect conditions, where the water wasn't moving and the surrounding conditions were perfect. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a reflection of background mountains in a lake. Here we have a scenic picture on a cloudy day, so you can imagine any reflections in the water at a minimum. I want to change that. So first, I want to get rid of the cloudy sky. So the first thing I want to do is to have the background layer selected. I've made a duplicate of the original background like I usually do. And then I'm going to do the Object Selection tool. Click on that. And then I'm going to mouse over the sky and let our AI selection tool think for a little bit until it figures out what it wants to do. And if you remember, on this AI selection tool, the clock is on and then it turns into a crosshair. Once it turns into a crosshair, we just click on it and then it selects the sky. And it does a pretty good job here because the sky is so much different than the mountains, it really doesn't have to think very much to do that. So once we select the sky, all I have to do is to get rid of the background by deleting it. So there, I've deleted the background. Then once my job is done there, I can deselect it. Okay, so now you see that we have our background and our sky is now transparent. So what I want to do is, now that I've gotten rid of the clouds, I want to replace it with a blue sky. So I'm going to go out here and go File and Place, and then get my sky. So here I have a bright blue sky. I'm going to open that, and then I'm going to pull the sky over the background. Now, to make the sky show up, I'm going to go over here and move it underneath the mountains and the lake. And so I don't get confused, have one of those senior moments, I will rename this layer Sky so we can keep all this stuff straight. Now, the next thing I want to do is to make our reflection. In the end, I'm going to try to change the color of the sky a little bit, but to be perfectly honest, I've tried this a couple of times and I haven't figured out what I'm going to do in this video. So anyway, I'm going to select the mountains, which means I'm selecting the background layer because it has the mountains on it. So what I want to do is to select the mountains, and this time I'm going to use the selection tool. So I'll use the selection tool and make the selection tool a little bit bigger by using the bracket key, and then just click on it and see how good of a selection it makes. Sometimes I have found on this one when I did it, oh, we got lucky on this one, and it did a pretty good selection. So let's reduce this right here. So we have a pretty good selection out of that. Maybe I want to, touch up this down here a little. Well, yeah, maybe I do want to touch that up down there. Okay, so what I want to do is to maybe move that down a little bit. So I'll fiddle with this a little bit. And we have something we've got to get rid of right there. So I click Subtract and move that up. And I think I'm going to keep that like that. So once I have that, what I'm going to do is to click on the Refine button up here to select it And here we have our mountain selected. Now this down here, sometimes this didn't work out too well, but I think what we're going to do is we're going to try to fix that and see if that will fix a little bit. If it doesn't, it's probably not going to be that big a deal, and you'll see why it's not that big a deal when we do this. Okay, I'm not liking that too much. So, well, maybe. Okay. So we'll just leave it like that. You're going to find that it's not going to really make that much of a difference. Now, for preview, instead of leaving it overlay, I'm going to go transparent. So we want a transparent background. And we want our selection to be new layer. And apply. Okay, so now we have our pixel layer. And what we're going to do with the pixel layer, that is the mountains, maybe I'll name it mountains. We need to make a duplicate because we need to have a reflection. So I'm going to duplicate the layer. So now I've got two mountains, not just one. And I'm going to move this layer down. See how I have two layers right there? So with that duplicate layer selected, I am going to click Arrange and Flip Vertical. So now I flip vertical and I can move this mountain down to where I have a reflection. Okay, so now I have a reflection. They're next to each other. And we can select this reflection layer and select Filters and go up to Gaussian Blur. Oh, wait a minute. First thing I want to do is do the opacity. I want to take this opacity down. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to see the ripples in the water, and I can't see them because because it's covering it up, obviously. So now I have this the way I want it. Then I want to, with the mountain layer selected, I'll click on Effects and click Gaussian Blur and then blur it a little bit. I don't think you have to blur it a lot. If you blur it too much, you're not going to be able to see it. I'll blur it, and then I think I'm going to change the opacity up a little bit. Okay, so we have that. We have it blurred, and we have the opacity where I like it. Then I'm going to go over here to this little thing right here. This is called a Mesh Warp tool. So I'm going to click on the Mesh Warp tool, and it's going to put a bounding box around it, and I am going to move our reflection to where it's not straight. Because most reflections, if you're at an angle or anything like that, they're not going to be straight down. So in order to make it more realistic, I will make the reflection like that. And then once I have, let me see, I don't like that. Okay, so I'm going to move it around so that I have my reflections on the mountains. And then after I do that, or have it the way I want it, then I'm going to get rid of that. And now we have our reflection in the water. From the color of the mountains, to me, it looks like maybe we have a sunset going on. Oh, I don't like this. This looks weird. There we go. Fix that. Okay, so we may have a sunset going on, so maybe to me, this sky might be a little bit too bright. To experiment with that, I'm going to click on the sky, and then I'm going to add an adjustment layer. So I'll go to Adjustments, go over and do Brightness and Contrast. I don't necessarily want to make it brighter or not brighter. What I'm going to try and do is see what it looks like if I change the blend mode. So I'm going to go down here to the blend mode and take a little tour of what each of these looks like. So there's darken and there's multiply. Actually, multiply doesn't look too bad. It makes it a little darker. And I've changed my mind every time I've done this. And then color burn, linear burn, darker color, lighten, screen, color dodge, that just looks funny, add lighter color, overlay, soft light, hard light, vivid light. Vivid light makes it a little bit like you've got a sunset, but I don't know, it might be a bit much for me. So we're going to go down, there's pin light, hard mix, different, oh, we're getting into the strange ones down here. I don't think I want that. Glow. So there's glow. Okay, so we need to pick one, and I think what I'm going to do is to do soft light. There's lighter color, soft light, and then click on soft light and see what happens if I fiddle with the brightness. Let me turn the brightness down. Because with this soft light, it looks a little bit like it's darker at the top and lighter, like the sun's going down or something. And that's really what I was going for. So I'm going to pick that. In my last 3 run-throughs on this, I didn't pick that one. So anyway, but I'm going to stick with that one. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. So we can just X out of that. And now if you're satisfied with everything, that's what your finished product is going to look like once you've replaced the clouds, gotten your reflection in there, and adjusted the reflection to make it look more realistic. So here we are from cloudy to gloomy to clear skies, maybe late in the day. Give this a whirl and experiment, experiment, experiment. And remember to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell to stay up to date on future videos. If you want to support my channel, you can buy me a coffee by clicking on the link. I also post messages on that site.